Left side shoulder, right foot. 81, reset. Okay. Pressure. 32. Let's try the back.
There you go, the Mercs. Those two Mercedes were motoring hard in the Pyrenees area of southwest France. And that's where I am now, at Pau. Because Pau is the headquarters of one of the international Dunlop test fleets of cars. Cars whose job it is to test tyres under the hard, unremitting, everyday live motoring conditions which can never be simulated in a laboratory. And in charge of the British section of the test fleet here is Paul Manning. Paul, this is obviously a thoroughly international operation. German cars, British cars, French cars and drivers of the same nationality. But tell me, what exactly are you doing here?
We're testing the D75, mainly from a treadwear point of view.
Now, why in particular the Pyrenees of France? Why can't you go grinding up and down M1, for instance, if all you're trying to find out is mileage characteristics?
Very good fast open roads here, low traffic density. We don't interfere with other people. We have good variation in test surfaces, coarse mountain roads, smooth asphalt, and with a good stable climate.
Ideal conditions then, no interruptions, and you can just keep on with the program all the time.
Exactly.
Well, Paul, I'd like to meet some of these drivers. Can we do that?
Yes, certainly. Come along. We've got 3 test teams here, a German, an English and a French test team. I'd like you to meet our senior French driver. Monsieur Lowe, Monsieur Walker.
I certainly envy your job in this wonderful weather. Now, can you tell me something about the teams?
We have 3 teams, English, German and French. We cover 1,200 kilometers a day of strictly controlled tyre wear testing. As Mr. Manning has already said, we enjoy a temperate climate and the roads enable us to carry out very serious testing.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Lowe. And what now, Paul?
Well, I told you we're an international test team. Go on then. Come and see our German testers. It's very important for them because they're making the tyre at Hanau.
The D75?
Yep. Yeah. This is Dieter.
Hello, Dieter. Glad to meet you.
And this is Gerhard.
Hello, Gerhard. And I know you've got some work to do yourself, so let me not keep you.
Yeah, okay then.
Dieter, when you're doing this enormous mileage of some 700 miles a day, are you operating to any special instructions?
Well, we have no special instructions. We drive like every ordinary motorist. Naturally, a little more speed, but it is a safety speed.
Yes.
Besides, we have to do many other things.
Ah, well, now, this is something I wanted to ask Gerhard about, and I think you'd better translate for me. Gerhard, what are these other things that you have to do, apart from all the driving?
Du bist gefragt worden, was wir außer unserem Fahren noch zu machen haben.
Wir stellen die Luft ein, dann fahren wir los.
Before we start, we check the tyre pressures. Halfway around the test circuit, we check tyre pressures again, and temperatures, and note the figures. We then change drivers for the second half of the test route, and at the end of the day's test, we change tyres over from one car to another.
Die Reifen von einem Wagen zum anderen wechseln.
Thank you very much to both of you. Now, all this testing is obviously very comprehensive, and it's certainly most impressive too. But why bother to introduce a new tyre at all? And certainly, why bother to introduce a new crossply when the market is moving more and more towards radials? To get the answer to that question, let's go to Fort Dunlop and Derek Hormel.
Of course, that radials are taking an increasing share of the market, but this is a gradual trend. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. and we think that for a few years to come, crossplies are going to be the dominant factor. There are a lot of people and a lot of cars which either don't want or can't fit radials, and these people still want crossply tyres.
Having decided that there was a need for a new crossply tyre, what specific design and marketing considerations did you have to take into account?
Well, our first consideration was tread life. Now, this isn't to say that C41 is bad in tread life, but we reckon that we could do even better with D75. At the same time, we couldn't accept any reduction in the wet road holding performance, of course. This is very important in a country like England. And at the same time, we felt that it was important to give our marketing boys a tyre which really looked different.
Yes, indeed.
Something really new. And we think that with D75, we've got a product which is going to give our salesmen and our dealers a real competitive edge.
Well, Derek, Dunlop has got so much experience in so many areas. Did you start off in any specific area when looking at this problem?
Well, being a worldwide company, of course, we've got the whole international experience to look at, and there's no doubt that we've got a great deal of value from our racing experience.
Jackie Stewart in his Formula One Matra Ford at Silverstone, but not in a race. For Jackie is not only one of the world's finest Grand Prix drivers, if not the finest, but he's also one of the world's finest testers, and that's what he's doing here at Silverstone today, testing race tyres for Dunlop. And nobody's better qualified to talk about testing than Jackie is.
You're here today to test out some new tyres. You go out, you go around the circuit, you come back to the designer and you say, this needs doing or that needs doing. How can you tell?
Well, in my case, it's through feel. I see a tyre perhaps is gripping until it's got a rather vicious breakaway, or it's rather mushy on its approach to a corner, it's indirect in steering, or it's losing adhesion on the entrance or the exit of a corner, the progression of the tyre.
Can you feel the same sort of thing with an ordinary production tyre as opposed to a racing tyre?
Oh yes, because I do a little bit of tyre testing that way too, and it's really the same problem. You're trying to see the same things.
Well, I know you've been testing for some time this new Dunlop D75 crossply tyre. What do you think of them?
Well, I think it's a very stylish tyre. It's a very sophisticated looking tyre, and yet it has a rugged appearance as well with the drainage channels, etc.
This belling out at the sides, like a racing tyre, gives it a very squat and purposeful look, I think.
Yes, I think the look of the tyre, in fact, is exactly what a good tyre should look like.
Now, this flat tread must help controllability a lot, too.
Yes, I think the confidence in steering the car is a great deal to do nowadays with the feeling of confidence from the driving seat. And, of course, the pointability of a tyre is very important for that.
When motoring in wet conditions, how much less feel of the road do you have?
Well, of course, you always feel the circuit until you aquaplane. And when you aquaplane, it's the same on a motorway as it is on a track. Really, you lose control of the car, and it's really only someone up above that's helping. It's extremely difficult, and we face the same problem both on the road and on the track.
Yeah, and the ordinary motorist just doesn't realise this problem exists. I think the development in this D75 tyre of shifting water is of vital importance to ordinary everyday safety. When you talk to tyre technicians about tyre designing, they're always going on about the shape of the footprint on the ground that the tyre makes. And I guess that this flatter, wider tread on the D75 must have made a lot of difference there.
Well, yes, you have a different footprint, and this really amounts to the fact that you've got more rubber on the road. Now, this has many attributes. One of them is that when there's a change of direction, there's a lot more grip. So therefore, when the driver does want to corner, he's putting more tyre on the road. His change of direction is much more positive, and of course, the feel to him is much better.
We've tackled this question of putting the rubber on the ground in a rather fundamental way. That is, fundamental way for an ordinary bulk production tyre, derived from racing practice. And we've simply recognized the basic truth that the ground is flat, and that the rubber is best presented to the ground in a flat manner. Then it reacts better, grips better, and wears better. And a jolly good way of showing this is if one flattens one's hand and presses hard, one can sense that it grips very well. If one rounds it up and presses with the ball of the hand, it'll slide. Now, this has been done by the adoption in this tyre, directly derived from racing again, and I'll exaggerate it somewhat just to show the effect of this concave moulding practice, depressed crown we call it. And it goes from that, when the tyre's inflated, it'll come up dead flat, and then the tyre will present itself to the ground in this flat way.
I can see that the new design gives a lot more grip, which is highly desirable, but I also know that one of the design requirements was to increase the life of the tyre. So what does the new D75 design do in that respect?
One gets the double benefit. If one studies intently and ensures that every iota of rubber that is in contact with the ground reacts on the ground with its maximum efficiency, this will logically increase the grip and improve the life. One's just getting a better deal out of that rubber when it hits the ground.
Tom, as Dunlop's chief tyre designer, it's your job not only to produce darn good tyres, but also to give Dunlop tyres a competitive edge that lasts. Now, what have you done in this tyre to do just that?
Well, that's perfectly right. We certainly haven't spent the years since the C41 came out doing nothing. And we have used this time to, what we would say, optimize the design of the crossply tyre here in the D75, and we would claim with considerable assurance that we do have this edge. And the features would be this new application of the concave moulding, the use of these very deep and very obvious channels in the center here to let the water through under all conditions, and recognizing that a tyre, however long it lasts, it doesn't stay new forever, we have introduced under pattern tread features which emerge as the tyre wears and improve the grip and help the wear also. And perhaps the most interesting of them is that at the bottom of some of the grooves we have little tunnels here. They run round the tyre, rather like the underground railway as it were, and clearly as the tyre wears they come to the surface and help in the general performance and so on.
And you would claim that these features are unique to the new Dunlop D75?
Yes, they are. Now here, with a complete tyre, one can see very easily the reverse moulded tread, the concave tread, and this again is the feature which, when the tyre is inflated, brings the rubber perfectly flat, so that as it contacts the ground, both the grip and the wear are made most effective.
Tom, we've talked a lot this afternoon about how you designed the D75 and what you design it to do. But tell me, how much better is it than other crossply tyres?
A very large amount of testing that we did, we found that its closest rival was the C41. And we managed to get a clear 10% extra life as compared with the C41, which means that in comparison with our real competitors, it's considerably better than that.
Well, it would seem to me, as a layman, that this concavity, which flattens out when you inflate the tyre, and which puts more rubber on the road, would also create a big water dispersal problem in rain conditions. But is that so, in fact?
Well, potentially there's a problem, but during the design phase we had a jolly good look at this, and this is where the very deep channels in the centre and the other features come into play. And I think the best thing to do is to walk across the track and see the tyre performing.
Right.
Well, we had D75 on that car, and we were really doing something rather special. We were having a quick look at the tyre underneath, running through some water.
How do you mean from underneath?
Well, the purpose of this apparatus here is that using a very special camera technique and taken through the slab of glass there let into the road, we can take an instantaneous picture of the tyre at a millionth of a second as it's pushing water out of the way.
What sort of pictures do you get?
Well, this is the sort of thing. Here's the D75 running through in just the condition we've just seen it. You can see the tyre shoving the water out of the way. You can see how these two wide grooves bleed the water out of the contact area, and how the mass of rubber is reacting and gripping on the road.
This black area is presumably rubber actually pressing onto the ground with all the water away.
That is the flat tread shifting the water, reacting on the road, not wearing and gripping. When you're driving down the M1 on a wet day, that is how your tyres should look from underneath. That is the only bit of the tyre which is doing something, and it must be clean, free of water, like that.
testing, checking, testing again, building up indisputable evidence here on the proving ground to back the claim that with D75, Dunlop are giving you another winner in the best tradition of C41 and road speed. A tyre that gives better directional stability at speed, a positive steering response and increased tyre life. And we're back with this question of improved tyre life now, thrashing away the miles with the Dunlop test fleet in France. Now, test drivers know better than anybody the problems of driving under tough conditions because that's their job. They know the value of a tyre which feels good to drive and which lasts longer. So let's join them now as they relax during a lunch break and listen to the men who drive on D75.
Well, I've been testing this tyre now for the last 2 years, all weather conditions, different parts of the world, and find this is one of the best crossplies that Dunlop have ever made.
C'est un pneu qui est beaucoup plus souple, il y a beaucoup plus d'adhérence, on peut se permettre une plus grande vitesse, soit sur route mouillée, soit sur route sèche.
Well, it seems more steadier on the D75 than what it does on the other crossply tyre.
Grip is good, yes, in the wet. You can really tell the difference.
Sieht sehr gut aus und ich würde sagen, eine Idee besser als der C41.
The lasting potential of this tyre is very good.
I think it's an extremely good crossply tyre.
I think it's a very fine tyre. It's very reliable, long-wearing tyre.
We tested every crossply tyre there is, and you can't get better than this one.
Good grip, long wearing, one of the best. That's what the test drivers think about D75, Dunlop's latest and best crossply tyre. A tyre that puts more rubber where it does the most good, biting the road, and keeps it there for more miles than any comparable product. A tyre that's tough and tenacious. D75 from Dunlop.